Welcome to Blue Collar Crypto, part of the World of Ability podcast network. My name is Sue Roskoff, and it is my privilege to introduce to you Tim Terosian, host of Blue Collar Crypto, along with Neil Weber joining this evening. So glad to have you guys here. Blue Collar Crypto takes place every Sunday at 4 and 5:30 p.m. Central. And Tim, I'm going to hand this on over.
Well, I'd like to say, first of all, welcome Neil Weber. You've been on the show for a long time, and we expect that you're here for a long, long future. And
thank you, Tim.
Okay, and we're enjoying a sunny day in Wisconsin. All of us in our separate locations. And I'd like to start by giving you my experience.
Can we take a second to just say hello to Sue, please?
Well, yeah, let's say hi to Sue. Hello, Sue.
Hi, Sue. Good to see you.
So glad you guys are here.
Great. Please tell Kurt and Alana, and don't you have a dog?
We do.
What's your dog's name again?
The lovely Minnie.
Ninny. Well, please tell them I said hello.
Much appreciated. Love that this is a good community here.
Of course it is. We know that. That's why I'm stressing that. So good.
Can I say we're very family oriented here in Wisconsin? Family oriented.
Yeah.
Plus, we're generally friendly people. Okay, we are.
Yeah.
Are we the average? I don't know what we are. I don't know how we compare. We've got our own style and our own brand, and so let's say when is Mother's Day? Hey, let's talk about all the hard work mothers do.
Well, okay, Tim. I know you're creative, but let's focus on workability, please.
Okay.
I know you're very creative. We're going to talk about workability. We only have 15 minutes, or less than 15 minutes.
We're gonna table that discussion,
right. So I'm going to ask you a question. Tell me what 3 jobs are you working right now?
Okay. I'm a caregiver. I get 12 hours a week. It's almost guaranteed because my employer, and here's a good subject. My employer just ignores me completely. I cannot get there. No, I'm not kidding. It's 12 hours.
I don't mean to laugh, but you kind of struck a funny bone. I'm sorry that's the case. So please, you have my condolences.
Yeah, it's so sad, but I don't have a landlord. Like in the building, there's no management. I get 12 hours every week, no matter what. I pay all my bills. I never get declined on my card. I never look at my account balance.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, I'm working a temp job where I'm banking all my money. Everything I make in the temp job, which is like $600 a week, I just put that in the bank and it just accumulates.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing touches that money. It just keeps adding up week after week.
Sure.
Okay, so that's 2 jobs. The temp job, my 12-hour, nobody cares what I do to get it. Don't have a boss.
What is your temp job though? Don't you have 3 temp jobs?
I have one. One right now. It's for a couple weeks anyway. I'm at a brewing company. We're brewing something, and I just put labels on cans. So it's pretty. I sit down. It's very relaxed. And I stick labels on cans. So that's another 600. And then I became a handyman. I just put ads on Craigslist and I put ads on Marketplace, which is Facebook's. Okay. And then at the Quick Trip, which in Wisconsin is the #1 gas station everywhere. So I put up papers on bulletin boards that say handyman. Mm-hmm. And I've had a couple bites so far, which is good. The more you look, the more you seek, the more business comes your way.
I believe that. Yep.
Yeah, so I've done that, and I call that multiple streams of income. It's a fancy term for get as many jobs, different kinds of jobs as you can get in different professions. Spread your wings. Don't, you might be good at one thing. Don't limit yourself. Even if you're bad at something, go out there and do it. Don't worry about what your talent is and how good you are at something, and you should only do that one thing. And today's world isn't built for that. Today's world is built for go out there and spread your wings. Learn. The learning economy is what I call it. Right. And that's what I'm doing. I'm learning that. I'm learning by doing. I'm doing. I encourage everybody listening to take action, and don't give it so much thought. Don't analyze it. I forgot what the expression is. Just don't analyze it. Don't think about all the reasons why you can't do something. Think about why can't you do something? Ask yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What is it about me that makes me not, why can't I achieve a certain amount of income? So, sure. Multiple streams of income. Robert Allen wrote a book about it 30 years ago. He has great ideas, actually. Robert G. Allen, early 90s. And the whole book is about finding ways to make money in different ways to make money. The entire book, from first page to last page, it's just filled. Robert G. Allen. So I'm doing what you do, Neil. Is I'm going to talk about a book, and then I think that's it for me. I would say my goal here is to put away, which I talked about in the other show, is an emergency fund. At least to have enough money in the bank in case everything goes. And I actually have an emergency. There's money behind me, it'll make me feel more comfortable in the day to day. That I'm not fighting every week to pay bills, and at the end of the month, where Kurt says more month than money. Okay, we're trying to fight more month than money. We're trying to have more money than month, and
correct.
A safety cushion. So now, Neil, as is a tradition, what is it that you're trying to do now? What is
well, that's a good question. You make me think, because I have been underemployed for a total of 22 years in entry-level jobs. And I always believed that I would go back into sales and make a high income. But in the last few months to a year, I realized that even though I was successful in sales in the past before divorce, BD, I realized that I will not be successful now. My personality has changed, and I'm not the person I was when I was in sales. So now I got a question: is what will I do to make a living? And I don't know that it's going to be working necessarily for somebody else, as you are suggesting. You are saying work for yourself, be self-employed, and the reason I suggest that is because what does it take to break in from the entry-level, jobs that everyone is offered to self-sufficiency and beyond? So for me, my understanding is that a living wage is $16 an hour. Would you agree with that, Tim?
I don't even know. I got to tell you, I'm kind of embarrassed to say I don't really know. Yeah. What is a living wage?
A living wage is what do you need to do to pay food, clothing, and shelter? And my understanding is rent is that it should be 1/3 of income. And so average rents in Wauwatosa, where I live, are $1,200 a month. So that means $36,000 a year, or $3,600 a month, I should say. I'm sorry. So if you need to make $3,600 a year times 10 is 36,000 times 3 plus 3 is 39,200 and 43,000 essentially. That's to pay food, rent, and clothing.
Well, here's the problem, and here's the problem. You're pretty much running away from the federal government taxation, the state government taxation, and you have to make penance with that. You have to have a understanding with your government here, because they're going to take a huge chunk of what you make.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're going to give it to you in unemployment, or they're going to give it to you, let's say, in Social Security. But how does that help you today? How does Neil and Tim tell people how to put money in their pockets today? And then the government says, well, thanks, Neil and Tim, for making all that money. We'll take half of it. So,
well, I don't know. I don't know. Are you talking about current actual transaction? Because my taxation is 12% right now, based on the income I make. So we have to look at actual taxation rate. So let's not talk about taxation at this time. Let's continue talking about what goals we can have to make income as a self-employed person.
Okay, so let's talk about, there's a special tax when you're self-employed. So it's called a self-employment tax.
Okay.
So
how
now,
much is that? How much is that?
It's very high. It's like 12 or 13% on top of all the other taxes. It's a separate tax that I'm going to say the word punish, but you only get punished if you go to jail. But if you want to legally pay taxes, start your own business, that 12% is just sticking out there. So what am I saying? I'm saying go out and make cash money if you can, and do it legally. So,
okay.
Because here's a way to get out there, cash money, right? Here's a way to build up your confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't that what we all need?
Well, we need confidence is good, but what excites me is a paid off house, a luxury car, and a suite full of clothes. That's what excites me. How about you? What excites you at the end of the day?
Well, okay, I guess we need to focus more, huh? And that's why we have the show. I mean, at the end of the day, I want, and I think a lot of people want, the government to leave me alone, stop taking all of my hard-earned money. What I want also is to not have to worry about every time I spend money, not have to look at my bank account every day, not have to look for the cheapest prices on everything, and that's a lot. I'm asking for a lot. Most people can't do that. Most people, if you have a family, which I don't.
Don't you have children? So, you have a child, don't you?
Well, they're moved away, and
you have a wife, though.
Yeah, but she doesn't have any. She gets a disability check.
Okay. But you have yourself. You have yourself.
And I was explaining before, my employer doesn't really care that I'm out here. They just give me this money. And then I make $600. I could bank that. And I don't think my situation is all that different than most people on disability. They make money doing whatever. I like today I made $600 shoveling horse manure. That's what I did.
So how much money?
60.
How much?
I'm sorry, 60. Sorry, 60. Okay. 60. Not 600. I was sticking on the number.
So here's a question for you. if you could do whatever it takes, and you just did whatever it took, you shoveled horse manure, which I've never done.
Right.
But very few people would be willing to do that. So you have willingness, which most people don't have that level. You do. So what annual income you want, if there were no restraints, what you achieve your dream, what would you make?
I think you and I on this show should try to encourage people. Me personally, I want to make 100,000 a year.
Okay.
After taxes, that's only 60, and that keeps me in the neighborhood I'm living in, and at regular rates. 100 grand is what people make in Verona, Wisconsin. It's about 90. It's a very high income place in Wisconsin. And that's what the standard of living is. So about 100, I'd say. 100,000 a year.
Okay, fair enough.
Add it
so
all.
that's
Yeah.
the question is then, you're committing to self-employment. I have not decided yet how I'm going to make my income, but let's say we both agreed to 100,000 a year. What goals can we make? I believe in daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, and annual goals. So what can we do tomorrow? We don't know we have more than tomorrow. Only today is all we have. So what can we do tomorrow when we wake up to make sure we'll have, what goals could we set in place to achieve that 100,000 a year?
I would say if I just keep repeating multiple streams of income, like I figure out what are the different opportunities out there.
Mm-hmm.
What will people pay money for you to do? Now, the reason I did my handyman stuff is I looked online and nobody put in the words handyman. When they're offering their service, nobody's writing handyman anymore. Here's a clue for here's a special freebie for all our listeners. There's a huge demand for handyman out there. And you can make the living wage if you want to be a handyman wherever you are in the United States. And guess who's doing the handyman work out there? And this isn't trying to change the subject, but you have a lot of people.
This is the subject. We're talking about income.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people that have some negligible skills that people come out of prison and they become handymen. And, it's not a knock on people that are trying to improve their life, but my goodness, put an ad out on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or a bulletin board in your hometown, all the gas stations, any bulletin board anywhere, and your phone will ring. And that's guaranteed. How much is that a month? I don't know, but I would say 500. I'd say you get one customer and you keep getting that customer over and over again. Let's say it's lawn cutting. They're going to call you up every year so you can cut their lawn. Or let's say it's what I did today, shoveling horse stuff, That's pretty, now they don't like to pay a lot on the farms, but they are going to hand you cash when you're done working. It's reliable. Or moving people out of their homes, moving jobs. On Craigslist, they have moving jobs. That's an easy $100 a month. That's $1,200 a year, just for moving jobs for moving companies. You just show up and they give you $60 to $100 or more for that day in cash. Okay. And there's a lot of websites that can help you, which we'll discuss in the future. We got plenty of time. It will help you find gigs. You can post your gig or your job, but do you want to walk around your neighborhood and knock on doors? If you want to, you know, find out. But find out what people need in the summertime. You know, in Wisconsin, we have a short, you know, where you can do all this stuff, helping people organize their garages, or they can't. A lot of elderly need help. And who's out there doing this work? A lot of people that are, I'm going to say this without a lot of people that are leaving prison. And if you can provide a service with integrity and honesty and do a reasonable job, there is a lot of handyman work out there. There is a lot.
Price. The key is the reasonable price, right?
I think that's not really terribly important. As long as you have integrity, they're going to keep calling you back, right? Because without integrity, they're going to say, well, you ripped me off, or you did a terrible job, or he said he was going to do something, he didn't do it, and took my money. Well, you're going to lose that business. Whereas if you do a good job at a reasonable price, they're going to keep calling you back. You know, that's a benefit. They're going to tell their friends how good you are, and your business will grow. And who knows, maybe you will start your own company from, you know, as they say, from scratch.
Correct.
So, and that's all we're trying to do here, Neil. I think we're totally on the same page. Is encourage people to take some action. And, you know, no matter how long it's been, I know, Neil, you say it's 20 years. I would say I graduated from college and I've done nothing with it. So that's even longer than 20.
Think so. Tim, I will disagree. Each of us has not necessarily achieved financial success to the point where we have a paid off house, luxury car, and a suite full of clothes. That's what I and a host full of friends. I think that's something that we can't neglect to mention. I think part of success is making a difference in other people's lives. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm very agreeable to what you're saying, Neil.
So each of us has not necessarily accomplished that, but I do believe that success requires a daily investment, and I believe that what is important is that we are on the journey, and you are not the same person you were when I met you, and you won't be the same person tomorrow. So you are willing to shovel horse manure, and will that lead to something where you're shoveling cash in the future? You're making a boatload of money, not shoveling horse manure.
It's not, it by itself, it's not going to make me a lot of money. But if I do moving gigs on top of that, yes. Now I'm in the $3,000 of cash every year range. Now that's
what is it, sorry? What's $3,000?
If I do the horse manure stuff, the farm work, and then I do moving gigs for moving companies, you know, they just hire you, and helping people at their homes. Now we're talking $5,000 every year of cash money that you don't really have to report. Okay. Now that's nothing to sneeze at. It's something that you don't have. You can set that in a separate account in a bank and go, well, this is my money from doing all these gigs, you know. And you know, I'm not talking about the gig economy. We're not talking about doing little writing samples for companies and they're paying us $100 a piece. No, I mean, no, because that's a recipe that I'm not so sure that we can promote. I mean, you can do it at home. We're talking about just the bread and butter, basic services for that will people be happy to pay you for and pay you for in cash. Maybe their basement is cluttered. You know, maybe they're moving. they put a pot out in their yard. You got to fill it up with their stuff. And all you're doing is taking orders from them all day. They pay you by the hour. Well, a weekend you could probably get $200 or $300 for something like that, just working for one family, just for a weekend or a day, $200 a day. So yeah, I mean, not to get off subject here, but we're not trying to be who we thought we were 20 years ago or 30 years ago. We're trying to be what the economy will let us do today. And there's some surprises in terms of what people will give you cash to do. Like Madison has a lot of students, so there are a lot of moving. There's a lot of short-term gigs here. Some of them last 9 days. You might put a couple thousand in your pocket, you know. So, can we on this program tell people where to find these gigs? And, you know, yeah, we can do that. We could just point you to them. Hey, apply here. They're hiring right now. Go to it. Why not?
Here's another question, Tim. Can we try to say how we use our time talents to get treasure and then inspire people to use their time and talent to get the treasure they need? That, I think, is the deeper question. I think if you thought you couldn't get it, you couldn't do it, and then you find out that you can do it and you can get it. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very powerful realization. Because we have a minute left. Let's talk about closure now. So I think what I'm learning from you in the closing is that you see a vast opportunity in this culture for services. And I would agree, but I don't know that, you know, the question is what, you know, if you got a strong back and a willing heart, then what the kind of work you're talking about is good for you. My skills are more in writing and customer service and people work, and I think that's where my skills are. So we have different skill sets, but we each have the same desire to make a high income. So maybe we have just maybe what you could focus your marketing plan on what your market is, and I could focus my marketing plan on what my market is. And for you, it could be your own business, and it could be, for me, it could be a company that I work for. But maybe we both are self-employed. But the bottom line is we have to define what our market is.
Well, I also the market changes. Like, there is a huge demand for people that are willing to do physical, you know, moving jobs. They say shoveling, farm work. There's this huge demand because people have forgotten how to work hard, and there's a lot of demand for physical work inside of people's homes. You know, like we're in a service economy, but the problem is people have forgotten how to work hard. And you'd be surprised if you want to shovel or cut grass at how much work is out there because the rates are high, you know, $30, $40, $50 for a lawn, higher, maybe $100. Now, you say, okay, you do that one time, but it's the whole summer long. It's every week. That's 12 times. There's 12 lawn cuts. That's one customer. It's going to bring you $800, $700 for one customer. That one customer is worth $700 to your annual income. It's not that impossible. We have to remind people that even in today's technology world, people still need hard workers to do tasks for them. And so that's what I'm hammering. You know, we're in a service economy. We're in a high-tech economy. There's too much of the people doing the high-tech, and there's not enough people doing the hard work. And and maybe we'll expand on that in the future shows.
Okay. Well, why don't we turn it over to Sue and let her take us off the program?
Excellent.
Hello, Sue.
Excellent program, gentlemen. As always, we're
Thank
so
you.
happy to have you guys joining us. We are here every Sunday at 4 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. Central for Blue Collar Crypto. Thank you so much, Tim Terosian and Neil Weber, for such an awesome conversation here tonight. We will be back, as always, on Sundays at 4 and 5:30. This is part of the World of Ability Podcast Network, and as always, we thank you.
Take care.
Take care.